Welcome to the Misophonia podcast. This is the first episode of season 5. My name's Dielmod, and I have misophonia. I'm so excited to be back with a bunch of freshly recorded episodes. I've been having a blast doing these because, as you'll hear in many of them, people are really opening up even more personally about miso. And not just miso, about lots of things going on in their lives around the miso, and going back many years. Partly I think it's because people kind of know what to expect in a conversation with me on here, but it's also that people are realizing the benefits of hearing other people's stories, and they want to give back to you, the listeners. This first conversation with Mary Rachel is pretty epic. I won't even try to sum it up because it goes all over the place. If you liked the Martha episode, you're going to love this. This is sort of the West Coast version. Just note the language gets a little colorful, so maybe not have young kids around. Also, spoiler alert, she's a casting director and working on something, and she mentions at the end she's interested in connecting with some misophones. You can find the links to contact her in the show notes for A Foot Away Entertainment. Some quick announcements and plugs. We have an app on iOS and Android. It's not just a podcast player, it's also a background noise generator. It's a journal for tracking your triggers and exporting your journal privately, maybe to a therapist or your HR department. There's also lists of resources on the latest news, research, list of businesses and artists who have misophonia. There are lots more features coming and a lot of good stuff being suggested, so please check it out and let's build some actually useful and innovative tools for misophones. If you forgot, you can hit me up by email at hello@misophoniapodcast.com or go to the website, misophoniapodcast.com. It's actually even easier to send a message on Instagram at Misophonia Podcast. You can follow there or on Facebook at Misophonia Podcast. On Twitter, we're Misophonia Show. Yeah, so hit me up about anything. There are great episodes coming up, cool things like the app, and some surprises. So this is going to be a really fun year. If you like either the podcast or the app, or hopefully both, please remember to smash the stars in the app stores or the podcast player that you use. Now, without further ado, I'm proud to kick off season 5 with this conversation with Mary Rachel. Okay, well then, let me say, Mary Rachel, welcome to the podcast. Good to have you here.
It is awesome to be here, Adil. I am honored and privileged and very grateful for this podcast. And I just want to do just a shout out to everyone listening and to all of the people's episodes that I've listened, which has been a lot. I love you. Let's start a support group. Let's all get together in one room and see what happens.
Yes, I've long dreamed of having a giant party where we'll all get together. It'll be very loud in terms of music, so we don't have to we don't trigger each other. But yeah,
right. Like, what would happen if you had a bunch of us in a room, like as a sort of investigation or research? Like, what happens with these people if they're in one room and they listen to? What do they do?
Yeah. Well, what like I've mentioned, you've probably heard the convention I usually go to when we're not in a pandemic. We all get together and it's like there are triggers, but we all kind of get each other, so it's somehow less stressful. And then sometimes the food that gets ordered for the event ends up being things like hard-boiled eggs, so things that are soft, or muffins, so nothing that's going to crunch. But again, if your issues are with chewing, you just kind of go to your own corner. but you have the agency to do that. Like, no one's gonna be like, oh, what are they doing? Everyone gets it.
I think that's great. I think we need to have more things like that, because to be around people that actually understand and get it is it instantly alleviates the stress. It's like, oh wait, I don't have to. You freak out so much because you don't want other people to think you're nuts.
Right.
So that's another layer of stress. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm acting like a cuckoo. And so that's
that
like,
shame comes in. And
yes, it's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible.
Great. Yep. No, totally agreed. So, we'll get into all of, your story. But I guess first we want to hear kind of where you're located, kind of what you do. You have kind of an interesting background here.
Yes. So I'll just give a brief life story. So I was born in England and I lived in England till I was 9 years old. And I moved to Long Island, New York, and I had a proper English accent. which I can put on for you if you like.
I
But by
was
the
gonna try to pinpoint it, but yeah, now it's starting to
time,
make sense.
okay. So I moved when I was in fourth grade, which was a very that's a very interesting time, right? I was young. My parents had just gotten divorced, and my dad was British, mom was American, and so we left England, and parents divorced, and so which is trauma, there, because I know
Yeah.
that trauma has been sort of a thread, and I was just thinking back to my childhood,
Hmm.
and yeah, that was a big thing, moving and that separation. But moved to Long Island, Locust Valley, which is the most beautiful part of Long Island, and lived. My mom and my brother and I lived with my grandmother for about a year, and then my dad came over a year later, and my parents got back together.
What?
Yeah, and
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, and so we were this sort of happy family. But it took me quite a bit of time to trust my dad, and that's sort of I'm
Mm.
not even answering the question, but anyway, I'll come back to it. Um, but yeah, and then high school, fourth grade till I graduated high school in Locust Valley, New York, and then college in Boston, Boston, and I am coming up on my 29-year anniversary of living in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And I live right in the heartbeat of the city. So if you were to look at a map of Los Angeles, you would see a big M on my
Right.
house for Misophonia main headquarters. Okay. Because it's you can imagine it's very calming in the mid city of LA. There's a lot of noises around here. So I think 29 years of LA must have taken a toll on
So LA's got all the different pockets. So you're saying you're like right downtown,
I'm
downtown
right in the
LA?
middle.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
literally like very close to Miracle Mile, La Brea, Tar Pits, the
Hmm.
Grove, like right in the heartbeat. I live in Pickfair Village is
Okay.
where I'm at.
Yeah, I've
I
stayed
can
near
go up,
LACMA.
yeah,
I think it's
LACMA.
probably all around there. Yeah.
Yeah, right there. So I'm right there, and it's a decent neighborhood, but we have a it's a good neighborhood, but it's still Los Angeles, and we have a cut through, so there's a lot of cars coming through. You just have to be careful here. There's a lot of strange things happening right now, and I wish I felt safe, having my daughter, my 11-year-old daughter, be outside in the front by herself. But it's just you just can't. So I put her out there with my tortoise, and then she's fine. I'm just kidding.
They have a hard back. Those things last a long time. So
I do have a huge tortoise. His name is Dexter. He is 15 years old. He is out of control, but he's the neighborhood. I mean, everybody comes to see Dexter, and it's just,
wow.
kids, babies, dogs. I mean, they just bring a little bit of joy. So I know a lot
Yeah.
of people in the neighborhood. He's escaped a few times, but he's about 80 pounds, and he eats incessantly. Um, but no, so and then I am a casting director. I'm a casting director and
Mm.
producer and acting coach as well. And I cast all. I work on all different types of media platforms and show genres, from scripted to unscripted, documentary to game show to commercial to film to TV. I love all aspects of it. I love working with actors and working on scripted as much as I love working on reality or projects in the factual space, because I have met so many amazing people with that, and I have learned about so many different professions, and
Yeah.
it's just so I really enjoy that. So yeah, that's I can go off to so many different tangents, because I was starting to sort of answer the question of when did the misophonia start, or miss me my
Yeah. No. Well, the question is kind of like kind of whereabouts are you? And we think we have a good understanding where you are and what you do is kind of usually my next question. So that's really interesting. And so yeah, what should let's stick with that. I mean, as a casting director, like, um, are you're not in some like, office job or whatever. You're meeting a lot of people. You're probably either at home kind of on your computer, or you're meeting people. Does that ever become an issue, like going out and meeting people um and getting triggered in those kinds of one-on-one meetings, or like basically how's the casting director job? I've never had a casting director on the show. How's that job for
Well, then
Misophonia?
you're in for a treat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, so I'm going to answer that on two or three different ways. So I have been in office, right, where I've had a team of, say, if I'm on a say a game show, right, where so I did Bet on Your Baby for ABC, which is a game show for kids and parents. Okay, so and I had a big team of people, and one of the first things I do if I'm starting with just any team, if it's a person, if it's just one person team, 2, 4, 15-person team, I have a meeting, and we gather around on our first day, and I say, all right, everybody, we're going to go around and we are going to tell one of our pet peeves. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's such a great icebreaker because we just all laugh and this and that. And then I get to say, well, my my biggest pet peeve is people eating, chomping, slurping, chewing, cracking, sniffing, tapping, clicking. Do not do that. Okay. And then they laugh and then if they are doing it at some point, I will say, okay, don't tap or no sniff or,
Right.
and then I
That is
don't seem like insane. Right.
Yeah, you found a great way to kind of weave it into an quote unquote icebreaker, ha ha ha, kind of basic social kind of situation, and get that information there so that you can reference back to it when you give them the glare next time when they trigger you.
Correct. And seeing it
Yeah,
as a pet
excellent.
peeve, not as a disorder.
Right, right. I was gonna say, when I heard pet peeve, I'm like, it usually annoys us because it's not a pet peeve, but you're kind of like you're taking it down to their level.
Well,
I don't.
yeah, and
I meant that as a
also,
funny way, not to offend anyone, but
no,
you're
right,
taking it
but
to the kind of the mass, what people understand. Yeah, that's a
correct.
great way to do it.
Oh, thank you. Oh, goody. I hope someone else takes this. Then that's
Yeah,
good. But see, the reason why I would even say pet peeve, well, I would continue to, but is that there hasn't been any sort of name for it until the past.
right.
What is it? 2015? What year was the first?
So the Joyce Cohen New York Times article was, I think, 2009 or
Okay.
2011. But yeah, but I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
but
Okay.
that was the
Yeah.
article. But it's been kind of slowly kind of getting into the public.
Yes. More people are becoming aware. Thank goodness. So this is after my episode, which I had in July, which we'll get to, but
Yeah,
I hadn't researched in a while because all the research that I'd done had been, there's no research, there's no treatment, there's no this. And then when I had my breakdown, I hadn't researched in a long time, and I'm a big researcher, and I researched, and that's how I found you, and then that's how I found all of these other things, and then you have interviewed all of the top people in the research, and so it's
yeah,
been very beneficial to listen to them. And I am very open. I don't think, as far as treatment, I don't think there's one wrong way or another. I mean, I don't want to be exposed to the noises. I don't know if that will work. I'm already exposed to those enough. But I do think that it just, depending on the individual, there's certain things that can really help. And therapy has helped me tremendously in my life at certain times. It's been very, the talk therapy.
yeah.
But what's interesting is that I've never taught. I had a great therapist. That's another great sort of trauma happened. So in my whole life, so it started when I was like, say, in 10 or 11, right? Just sitting at the table with family.
This is when you had come across the
My
ocean
first sort of
here.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. And I was thinking it was my dad eating. And I was just like, oh, so irritated. Can you just stop munching? Right. But then it was just everyone in the family, and they'd be like, oh,
yeah,
Mary, my mom's like, oh, Mary, you're neurotic, oh, man, that kind of thing. Like, no, you're driving me nuts. And but it would just be a fleeting thing. Like it wasn't like invading my life the way that it has come to. It's built up. And so there have been times of periods where it's been stable. Like there's been no, I went through high school. Okay. Maybe the odd, crunch of an apple and as well as college. And if some guy or girl was crunching an apple in class, I just say, do you really have to chomp that apple like a buffalo in the undergrowth? And make it like a joke because I had to laugh about it. And then they'd be like, oh, sorry. And then, there's professors that also didn't like it. I think a professor actually did say that. He's like, John, you sound like a buffalo in the undergrowth. What are you doing? Put that apple down.
Right.
So, making jokes of it and the noise. However, it wasn't debilitating. Now it's becoming debilitating. And so I remember I would just certain things like and I would freely talk about it. You know what? I just really don't. Can you just not slurp? Like what, I think there's something that I don't know if anyone has addressed. I've listened to most of your episodes, but I grew up in England where, so early, I would always have these. So I come from a very prestigious political family in England, and wonderful, beautiful, bright, diplomats, humanitarians, lawyers, and I remember my father's father was governor of Jamaica, and he was governor of Cyprus, and he was British ambassador to the United Nations, and he was a diplomat, and he really was working on world peace, with Israel and the Arabs. Just really amazing, just unbelievable things going. Yeah. And so when we would go, so my grandparents lived in this castle in Cornwall. And it was a castle, like it was Prince Charles's castle. And I just remember going, and my grandmother, who I loved dearly, and of course I was one of her favorites, of course. She loved the eldest. She was very strict, and she was Italian, right? So I would go, and I would cry. I would have stress, and I would cry, and my grandmother would say to my mom, don't go get her, let her cry, kind of thing. But I would have horrible earaches every Christmas, and like really, really bad, like stuff coming out, like horribly painful. And I do wonder if that has any connectivity to, to the misophonia, misophonia, and so I would feel stressed, even though I adored her. It was when we ate, okay, there's no people slurping, chomping, eating with their mouth open. It's quiet eating. And I do feel that needs to be addressed. And I hear a lot of your guests cringing in the corner. They should not have to cringe if someone is literally eating in a disgusting way. No one should, I firmly believe that no one should eat with their mouth open. No one should clank their utensils on a bowl. No one should slurp, have manners. So that's very, that's sort of, there's no manners. I raised my daughter, Sophie, with manners. And so she knows, I'm like.
I feel like manners were more of a thing when I was growing up as well.
Yeah, there's no manners. So no one should have to tolerate your disgusting eating habits. That's right. And so it's like, I had an assistant who would slurp water. Why are you slurping water? There's nothing to slurp. And I would just say, stop slurping. And don't tie that and you're not like that.
Yeah.
Speak properly. Don't mumble. Don't slurp, have manners. And so eating habit, like really, like if you were going to have a lunch for a job interview, are you going to sit there and eat like a Wolverine? And if you do, well, shame on you because you're not going to get the job. But there's manners and there's etiquette. There's etiquette with everything. There's etiquette when it comes to going to a supermarket. There's etiquette when you go on a hike in nature. There's an etiquette when you sit at the table and eat. And that is, don't be disgusting. Just have some manners. And so I think that this is probably why these are the triggers first and foremost, because who does want to listen to people chomping on anything, popcorn, Doritos, carrots, whatever it is. And what genius decided to put popcorn, the noisiest snack in the world, in a movie theater? Let's have some nachos and popcorn and rustle our freaking sodas. And so, yeah, like really,
Candy
no one
wrappers
really likes
is
those
probably,
noises.
yeah,
What?
yeah.
What?
Candy wrappers is kind of even worse for me.
Oh, here's the thing. This is what I can't stand. Like, so I am very fortunate that I get to go to the Directors Guild. We haven't in the past year because of the
right
pandemic, but where it's beautiful, where I get to see screenings and Q&As, and they do not allow food or candy in the theater.
I need to move to LA.
It's amazing. You need to come to LA, and I'm going to go to the Directors Guild. So I'm like, amazing. And so whenever I do go to a movie theater, it's just like, oh, forget it. Disgusting. No etiquette in the movie theater. Everyone leaves at the end of the credits, everyone, on their cell phones. So, but this is what's so great about the Directors Guild. So they have guys in there sometimes, because we get to see screenings before they're released, that literally they come and they announce there's no eating, there's no da-da-da, but they have people that in the corners you have to look with like binoculars, looking to see if anyone is recording the movie or eating anything. I love them. They're my heroes. And there was one time, this is what's the worst, is like they all know the rules, and then what's the worst is when the movie starts and you have someone next to you just rummaging through their purse or trying, like, zipping it open, trying to be really quiet, like, just do it quick. I'd rather you do it quick. Or trying to, like, open the wrapper, like, really? You're going to open that wrapper? I'm going to stab you in the neck. Just open it quickly. Just when they're trying to go really slow, like, it's just so much worse. Like, oh, and that's when someone came out like, excuse me, you need to put that down, or like leave the theater.
Jennifer Lawrence, can you leave the theater, please?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That's exactly. And I just thank you to the Directors Guild of America. I cannot wait to come back to screenings. I think they're starting soon, for doing that. God bless you.
I wonder if someone there has misophonia. That'd be interesting to find out what the origin of that. Yeah,
I'll make you a bet they do. And people are very sensitive to it, because if anyone talks or whispers, they're all like, shh. I think everyone there has misophonia.
That is my happy place. I think that theater.
Oh my gosh, I will take you
it's either
to
that or my
meeting.
Basement when watching Netflix. Those are the only two.
Oh
places
my god, yeah, right. No, I would love for you to be my guest, because it's always I always get to bring a friend, and I love to do it. I love film. I could talk about it all day long. And sound, let me just tell you, sound in anything is so important. It is so important. It affects our lives. So when making a movie or doing a TV show, or even recording this, if your sound drops or something, it loses it separates the whole.
It's that energy gets broken, and
and the focus.
It takes a while to recover. Yeah.
Correct. And if you have bad, music or bad dialogue or ADR mixing, forget it. It's just so important. And my first job actually in LA, my gosh, I can't believe it's going to be 29 years, October 2nd. And I'm only 30. Just kidding. I'm only 30 years young. 29 years in Los Angeles is enough to make anybody go bonkers. I mean, it's a noisy, dirty city, right? And it's just, from the leaf blowers in the neighborhood, which there's no leaves. We don't have any leaves. There's no leaves to blow.
You're in a desert.
We're in a desert. Like, what are you doing? And I get so irritated, because being at home. So I have left. So I do the pet peeve thing, but I have quit. I quit a job working for a high profile production company. It was an in-house job, because I'm freelance. So this was an in-house job, casting director and development producer job, for a top production company in Beverly Hills. I mean, they gave us beautiful free lunches on Wednesdays. It was so fancy. But the owner of the company believed in open space, right? Office. And I think he had his own sort of OCD, because he didn't like anything on the walls or anything hanging on the chairs. And so I'm brought in by the VP of development, who was just relocating from a company in Seattle to Beverly Hills. and she brought me in because I was doing freelance for her for her other company. She's like, I want to bring you with me. And it was a really tough show we were working on. It was basically dealing with, I was interviewing teens and parents to break the cycle of dysfunction. So it was a really intense thing. So I'm talking to people that are struggling with addiction, with, anger, with just intense things. And I'm literally, I mean, that's very personal. Casting is very personal. There's 50 people that can hear my conversation. So I hated that. Not to mention the fact that my assistant and I were next to the kitchen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh my God. So on Monday morning, everyone would get their cereal bowls and clankety clank away and then have chit chats and eat their fucking cereal right next to myself and my assistant, because we were like right there, like lean on, our like cubicle area. And my assistant, who did not have Misophonia, was like, from Australia, he was like, what the fuck? What the God is going on?
Even he's going crazy. Okay.
He's going crazy. Like, so here's the thing, though. I researched, the top 10 or the top, 20 most annoying sounds of people, and eating is on there, right?
Yeah.
But I guess it doesn't cause the reaction that we misophones have, which is kill or run. Kill
right.
Or run.
Fight or flight. Yep.
Murder or, flee. I mean,
Yeah.
So it's that's the difference. It's like but I also think that people don't say it. They don't talk about it as much. I think there's a many more thousands of people that suffer from this and now will know, because I had no idea. I thought it was just a thing. And I know that is a current theme with all of your guests, is that, oh, you just thought you had to deal with this or live with this, but it's actually a thing. It's actually real. I'm not neurotic, I'm not mentally ill. I mean, there's something here. And the most important thing, I think, is for people to talk about it and have support groups. I would love to have, and I was looking for different sort of support groups, but I need to have like a support group, like to talk about it and meet up about it and discuss it, because I think that's really helpful to just see, how we're doing or what's going on, or connecting. And maybe there's some that are happening. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean there are small groups popping up, like in like Instagram DM groups. There is a regular Zoom call that happens every week. There's actually a couple of them. And then there's probably more that I don't even know about. These are just the ones that I happen to be exposed to. I don't always have time to go to them.
Yeah.
But and then there's talk of having a I don't know, maybe like a texting circle, or just having somebody kind of like a hotline where you can maybe text or call somebody, and there's always somebody there listening. You don't have to,
like an AA, a sponsor.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we can look for something after, or set something up if they're all full, because sometimes they get full, like Instagram has a limit, and then just create one. Right. So no, but that's totally, I think it's better than the 40,000 person Reddit group or Facebook group.
I can't do that. I don't know. Just a small sort of group support would be great. I mean, it I think would be helpful. But by the way, I've developed an eye twitch recently. Oh my God. I'm just like, what is going on?
Do you think there's some misokinesia going on, maybe?
I do. I don't know what's happening.
Visually triggered? Yeah.
Really, it's like, it's so involved. Like, no. But I think what I forgot to mention is what else I do. So I quit that job in Beverly Hills. I was like, I just can't do this. And silly me. And I started my own company, but then they hired me back freelance, again. But I just think I don't think that the open layouts work. They don't work from a psychological level. Everyone's listening. I don't think they're good in any way. People need to be in their sort of private, spaces, especially in what I do, if I'm casting like a very highly sensitive, docu-series with real people, it's private information. And so,
Right.
it just didn't work for me. And then being by the kitchen, I was like, but I'm out. I
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yep. And was this pretty recent, or was it just
It
kind of
was so
like
that was
a
in
particularly
so
jarring?
that was in 2012 actually. And
Hmm.
then in 2013 I launched my own company, and then and I spent that whole year, and plus I have an 11-year-old daughter. I'm a single mother in Los Angeles, being which equates to 40 different other professions. I mean, literally.
Yep. Yeah.
Like
Yep.
if I can't get myself out of the kitchen, I mean, I'll blow my brains out. Like I can't take it. Just get me out of here. Like, being a parent is the toughest job I've ever had, and I've had some really, really difficult
Hmm.
jobs. Being a single parent is
Hmm.
even more challenging. But being a single mother in Los Angeles, I would not wish that on my own worst enemy.
So is that partly just because everything is so far away? Is that one thing just to
It's
do
because
anything? You have
even just
to.
with one, it's just, and I've been single for 10 years. So that will drive you insane. I've had no partner to like bounce off. I
Mm,
mean, in life, the reason why you have a husband or wife or partner, or even a roommate, is to bounce off at the end of the day, to say, you're doing okay, or,
yeah.
the decisions that I have to make, the executive decisions, with her schooling and with all the work that comes with that, the applications and then they involve you so much. It's like, oh, and it feeds into my sort of own perfectionism of when I was a student, and Sophie's very different. So, and then the pandemic happened, and forget it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
stuck at home. So, and also working from, so I started my own company, but then so I was back for a year. I created and developed and attached talent to 8 of my own projects, fielded all of those, received offers. I mean, and then I would go back, and then I've gone back, in office sometimes to work, freelance, and then at my house if I can. But it's hard. I've had a team of up to, let's see, 6 or 7 people in my home. And it's tricky because they're in your space, and it's hard to separate. They're using your toilet and they're eating your food, and smoking their cigarettes. It's like, ugh. But it's it's like, can you go smoke that down there? All right. But so but if depending on the budget, if it's going to work, if that's going to be better, then make that happen. But um, it's, yeah, so it's open, but the past couple of years it's been from home. And in the beginning it was great, super focused. And then as time went on, there's so many distractions in the home, and there's so many noises.
Hmm. Were
And
there were there stuff that you just started noticing more, or was it just
yeah,
because there's more, like everyone's home, so it's just, I mean,
yeah,
not just your daughter, but like all your neighbors are home too. It's just like
yes,
it definitely felt like, yeah, if, at least for me too, it definitely felt more and more claustrophobic. Like, okay, wait, I can't really go out freely, and not only can I not go out freely, but people in the house cannot go. Like I used to have that kind of alone time, and that's kind of disappeared.
yes, the alone time. My favorite time of day is when I drop my daughter off at school.
Yeah. Yep.
Bye bye, see ya, I'll pick you up at 6. um,
Yep.
um so right, so I would drop her off at the bus stop at 7 in the morning. This is when she was in elementary, she just started middle school.
Hmm.
And I literally would come back, and I would work, and I would to clean up the kitchen. By 8 I'm ready to work, and then I would pick her up at school at 6. So it was a long day for her, but then we'd talk in the car on the way back,
Yeah.
and we'd have dinner and read, and that was it. It was good, and we didn't hate each other, and we didn't fight the way that we do now. And that
Hmm.
is just not good. When it first started, I mean, when we were first, school at home, Sophie was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I don't have to go to
You don't have
school.
to dress up. Yeah. Right. Hmm.
Right. And
Oh yeah. Right.
yeah, and so for 5 weeks my mom lives here in LA too, and we'll get to more details on her. But my mom, Sophie, and I basically just threw in the towel and just let things go for the first 5 weeks. And it was actually a really great 5 weeks for the three of us. There was no arguments with my mom and I. We just all got along. I ate pie every day. Oh my God. But then I was like, okay, no, Sophie's got to get back. And she was in fourth grade at the time. I became obsessed with her assignments there. And she was this very math, science, technology magnet. Very, great school. And her teacher was great, but it was just all she had was an hour, twice a week. And when she went to fifth grade, it was way more. It was, 9 to 12 in the afternoon, and then support after. So, a half an hour or an hour twice a week. And then she's just supposed to do assignment after assignment. Well, she's not going to want to do that. So it would it fueled. Sophie is different than me. I was a perfectionist. I was an excellent student. I was, it was a way I could, because there was stuff going on in my life, at a young age, my parents going through a divorce and the things going on at home. I was excellent at my studies because that was something that I could control. And I didn't want to cause any other drama. I wanted to be, perfect. And I was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I was perfect.
No doubt.
I was a genius. I am a genius. We all are geniuses. Let me just say that we misophones are geniuses.
That's not the first time someone said that.
I really believe it. I think that we're so aware.
There's something different, yeah. And there's so many creative people that I interview. There's something about creativity and also engineering. So that kind of, that technical and creative side, there is just a kind of a big bend towards that. And that's what I find interesting too. Probably a cycle that kind of reinforces itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And quick-witted. And
if you're funny, if comedy is part of being self-aware. So I think there's no doubt that we have a bit more self-awareness than the rest of the population.
Yeah. It's when it catches up to you where it's like, oh no, I need to get help. And I've heard a few other of your guests sort of come to that point, and it just catches up. And so until you have some breakdown and you're no. And that's when, you realize okay, this is becoming, because it's just any sort of noise or yes, the was it the visual,
misokinesia.
Misokinesia, tapping of the leg or the clicking of the thing or the cracking of the nut, just who wants to hear those things, who wants to hear clicking of a pen? No one wants to hear that, right? So no one should ever do it, ever. And to ever do that, anyone listening to this, don't click your pen in a meeting. No one likes it. And if there happens to be someone with misophonia, you're dead. Okay, so yeah, just
definitely in their heads, they are imagining you dying, even if it's not happening.
Quietly, try to have manners, not eat like a gross, disgusting beast, and don't breathe. Right. Like a
in and out and get on with the next breath.
Unless you've got some kind of illness, go to the hospital. We'll visit you there. But
get a ventilator, get a machine to do it. A silent machine.
Get a machine. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know. There's so many things that I want to say, but it's again, the etiquette thing, right? So I did want to address that with manners. I think that the people that are listening, so that it's important to have the support from your family. And if you don't have support from the close ones around you, if they don't understand it, you're fucked. It's just horrible. And so, and my mom's not going to like me saying that, but it's true. And it has caused my mother's like, I don't believe in it.
So to this day,
I don't believe in it. it's a real thing. And I tried to share with her and my brother, an article, and this is a real thing. And this was like a few years ago. And I'll never forget, because there's been some highs and some lows. So um it was Christmas Eve, and it was like a Saturday. And I have my front room, and my daughter has the back room. And my mom and my daughter were like, we're back. It was like 7 a.m. We're back in my daughter's room, and I was in the front. So I've got the cars going by, and you can hear the garbage trucks and the leaf blowers, and
Yeah.
chainsaws and drills, and jackhammer, you name it, right? And alarms, doors, whatever. And so at 7 a.m. on Christmas Eve, some jackass is up in the tree across the street, trimming the trees with a
Chainsaw.
okay. First of all, no. Why are you doing that? Like, that's rude. That's rude. Like, again, etiquette. Why are you doing it at 7 a.m. on Christmas Eve? And I literally, it was one of it was like I got out, not like he could hear me. And I opened the door, and I was like, shut the fuck up! What the fuck are you doing, you fucking asshole? And he kind of saw me for a moment, and I slammed the door. And my mom and my daughter were like, what the heck? Because they didn't hear it. They couldn't hear it, because it's really quiet. And it's really, the reason why I picked Tuesday is because Wednesday is leaf blower day. And right now it is so quiet. Like, it's really quiet. There's no
Tomorrow at this
siren.
time, it's going to be a leaf blower
There's
fiesta.
no siren. There's no leaf blower.
Yeah.
There's no gardener right now. Like, literally, it's really quiet. Like, I don't hear anything. Normally I hear a siren or something. I don't hear anything. It's so nice. Like, it's really quiet. And and my mom, and this was the worst thing, because it was just horrible what she did, and what she said in front of Sophie. And I freaked out. And Sophie was like, I was just so angry, and I was sweating, and I was anxious, and my heart was racing, and I felt like red, and like, ugh! And my daughter, who's so sweet, she's like, it's okay, mommy. She did the best thing you could do. Calm down. It's okay. It really comforted me. And my mom is just standing there staring at me like, and she said, you're mentally ill, Mary. And I said, and I screamed a bad name at her. I said, and I slammed the door, because I was so angry. And you don't do that. You don't say that. And you don't say that in front of my child. That's disgusting. Yeah. And if that is the case, then why don't you go frickin' find a way that you can support me, rather than thumb me down? So it has been a huge negative thing between my mom and I. And I love my mom. She is an amazing human being. Everybody loves her. Everybody loved my dad too. My dad died in 2008, which was the worst year of my life, which was when other sort of trauma set in. But I love her. But I think that even if I send her the scientific journal, this doctor did this, this is a thing, it's real, I don't believe it. I don't believe in it. How can you got, whether you believe in it or not, it's real. It's kind of like saying the vaccine doesn't work, like,
right.
It's science. Here it is. And I think with my mom, I think that part of her feels that it's her fault, or like, that she's contributed to, like, this mental illness, or this disorder, or this issue. I'm a person that was really open about therapy and getting help, and my dad was too. Whereas my brother and my mom are not so much. Oh, I don't need therapy. I don't have any issues. It's fine. It's like everybody has things they need to talk about at some point or another.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how some parents might want to kind of not want to admit that. Well, not want to think about the fact that their kids don't want to think about their kids as being kind of like brought up perfectly because they brought them up and don't have any issues, and maybe that's part of it. She doesn't want to admit that one of our child might have a real issue.
Well, right. And so, I mentioned that my parents got divorced and that
Yep.
we moved. And so there was some serious stuff going on there as to why they separated. And um, she loved my dad more than anything. She was madly in love with him. But, he struggled. He struggled, and he was an unbelievable human being. I mean, my dad was just unbelievable human being. Everybody fell in love with my dad. He would walk into a room and he was just this you know, tall, dark, salt and pepper, beautiful,
Hmm.
handsome, um, gentleman, dynamic, excellent with people. He ran an international flying eye hospital called Orbis International for 25 years. He started with the inception of it, and it was a nonprofit flying, teaching eye hospital that traveled to third world countries and developing countries, and volunteer doctors, ophthalmologists from you know around the world, but sort of the main, more the they would basically volunteer their time and they would go to third world countries and developing countries and teach um, skills and surgeries um, in saving people's vision. And he launched. It's still running today. He devoted his whole life to it. He had just had the 25th anniversary at the United Nations with Richard Branson and the president of
Hmm.
Ethiopia, and 25 years, and there it was. And he died about a year after that. He sort of gave his life to that. He was only 61, and that was a huge, huge trauma when that happened, because we were very, very close. We had a very complex relationship, but we knew each other. Like, he got me. We were very similar. He was irritable, I was irritable. I think he must have had a bit of the sound irritability, because I'll never forget, if we were ever in a movie theater and there was someone eating popcorn or chomping on gum, we would be
Hmm.
so irritated. And but we would make a joke of it. He was so funny, and we would laugh because we would mimic it and be like, oh, and that's how we would get through it, or we'd move.
Yeah.
Um, and we would be guaranteed every time we would get together. And he was a world traveler. Like, we every time we'd have something to eat in a restaurant, we would be there, and someone would come and vacuum around us. Like, what are you vacuuming? We're still eating. It was just these crazy things. They're hoovering under you. You're like, what are you? We would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And I miss him tremendously. His birthday would be 74, I think, on the 19th of September. But that's a huge um, trauma for that. But my boyfriend at the time, who I thought I was going to marry, when I was never even thinking about marriage, but he was a police officer, and we met while I was doing an open casting call for Deal or No Deal in Colorado, and we fell in love, and he moved out. We were just madly in love with each other. I mean, he was the guy. He was there for me when my dad died. He was there, he was by my side. But 3 months later, he left and went back to Denver without just. I came home to an empty. I was like,
What?
what? Yeah. And it was just like, whoa, that was too much. And I was coming to
Yeah.
the end. I've been on deal for like 3 years. I traveled the country. That was a huge, it was like the height of my career on that show. Like, because I was like 35, 36. And it was a great show. I met so many amazing people, able to help people. I mean, it was just a great, family, but it was a lot of stress on my body physically. And so when he died, which was February '08, and then the show ended September. I mean, my whole team just saw me just, and then Derek left. Like, I just I went cuckoo. When the show ended, I just sort of died. I just literally, I knew I needed to see a therapist, but the therapist I was seeing was not helpful. He was one of those therapists that was like, oh, so you're a type A person. Well, and he wasn't supportive, and he was yawning all the time. I'd be like, are you bored? Because I'm not a boring person.
I hate yawning when I'm, yeah, in a meeting
I
with
mean,
anybody
are
about
you bored?
anything.
Like, and don't put me in a box. Don't,
Right. Right.
he's like, well, maybe you're type A personality, you're so in control, whatever. That's why he left. I'm like, there's no excuse for why he left. He was a coward. It was ridiculous. So then he referred me. Then I was like, well, maybe I need some medication, because I've at times in my life I've had a little, where I've been feeling down or anxious, where a medication has helped. Like Celexa was amazing. It helped me for like 1 year. I was feeling really anxious. I was director of marketing for this real estate company, and she was like high-end real estate, still around. And I would go in and she'd be like, I'm Mary Rachel, I need you to do this and this and this and this and this. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do that? Because I like to get things done, right? And so my doctor, it was such a light, it was just such a light medication. She's like, oh, just take Celexa. My mom had it, and just takes the edge off. That's exactly what it did. And it helped. And at that time it was done. But the psychiatrist that I went to, who was, we met, she's like, so what do you want? I'm like, what do I want? I don't know what I want. Like, so she gave me things like Lunesta and Prestique and Adderall. Okay. I'm like, she goes, well, you have ADD. I'm like, no, I don't. I've always been able to focus and follow through. Anyone that's had that kind of loss in life feels scattered. You just feel. And so Adderall, that made me rage. Like, I would just be up all night picking up dead cats off the street, just wandering around in my head. It was terrible. And we actually ended up developing a show together, which was, I'm like, is this crossing the line? Like, and it was just a very bizarre relationship. And I think she sort of preyed on me at a vulnerable time. And I weaned myself off that medication. And she's like, well, I can't work with anybody that weans himself off my medication. I'm like, but I'm feeling better. This is not what I, needed. What I needed was just to feel the emotions at the time. I just needed to feel messed up, and I just needed to just do what I needed to do.
Work through it.
Yeah. And it was horrible. And my mom and family member, I mean, I just really stayed in solitude. I was living by myself, but I had a girl come and stay with me who was wanting to move out to LA. And we would go out, we'd go out and party. I partied a lot. I didn't care. I didn't give a shit. I was angry. And I didn't care. Like, it just let me just get through this. And that's when I met the sperm donor.
I was trying to do the math there with your daughter, but
right.
I figured you'd get to it.
I can't believe I just said that word, the S word. No. But I met him, and I was not looking for a relationship. In fact, I was angry at men. Okay. My dad was gone, and the man I thought I was going to marry, was gone. So I'm like, hey, listen, if you want to hang out, great. But I might, no, you're a dick. Like, you're an asshole. I think you're, some guys would like it, and some be, all right, moving along. And he was just sort of this distraction. He was just this amazing fashion designer, had a huge business downtown. We met at a party at Fashion Week, and just this lovely guy. And I was not interested in him, but I noticed that there were some, very quickly into us hanging out, I just noticed that he would surround himself with some sort of sketchy people. So that was very sad, that whole other situation. But it was like accidentally on purpose, I got pregnant. I never, and at 30, I was 38. I'm like, wow, I don't know. It was like part of me started to think about, blood and connection when my dad died. And I was never in a rush to sort of get married or have children. I always had many, many pets. I've always been a huge nurturer. I'm the one that people come to when they have a problem, that person. And I had a friend just dump me because they did not, my best friend was like, he couldn't take me feeling out of control, feeling sad and down. It's just hard for people. And, I got pregnant, and I was pregnant with twins, and there was no way that, this was it. It's 38, man. I better, and there was no way that I was, not going to go through with it. So, there was a very intense pregnancy, but I felt awesome. Everything that you could imagine was wrong, advanced maternity age, twins, They thought I was going to have twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome because my other daughter Phoebe, who died about an hour and a half after I had her, was having a lot of complications. And so, but there was this tremendous amount of healing that I was doing during that time, and this has helped me actually. And I'm going to go back to a friend, but I know people were talking. Someone was talking about tapping and different sort of therapies, and she's a mind body healing counselor, and she worked with me every week off the body, with, and that healing I just found my journal was so helpful, and the life that the girls had, like I was just like, I always prayed for that miracle, because I can't tell you how many times I've interviewed people when they're like, oh, so-and-so is my miracle baby. I had my tubes tied 8 times. I still got pregnant. You're like, right. What? And it's, she, like I felt, and then my doctor was an asshole. He's like, well, baby B's not going to make it anyway, so you can deliver naturally. Oh my God, thank God he wasn't there when I delivered. But so I'm just going back to the trauma that experience. So the death of dad, my Derek leaving, my daughter dying, all very simultaneously. And it was a lot to take in because I wasn't sure what I was feeling. So when my dad died, I kind of felt a sense of peace because he struggled with addiction his whole life, on and off his whole life. Amazing what he accomplished. And so his work was his addiction as well, and so when he died, it was like part of me just felt it was raw. I felt it when my brother called me. It was like I told Derek, I said, get out, take the dogs out. And I felt it viscerally in my stomach, and I screamed, like, and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and went to England for the funeral, and just that I was actually at a calmer place after a couple of weeks. I was very calm, and then Derek left, and that's when I was like, what? Because my dad died thinking that I had someone, that Derek was there, and so that sort of abandonment was just horrible. And it was just very hard to process because, when you're in a relationship and you're like, oh, this is the guy that wants to marry me. I mean, just all of a sudden act like, did I know this person? Was I being conned? Was very, very hard. And, and then meeting David, and then getting pregnant, and then my other daughter, my daughter dying. So I was embracing Sophie at one hand and then having to plan a service on the other. It was bizarre, and I had a C-section. Anyway, it was beautiful in itself, and we sang. I had her baptized. I went into the hospital like a week early, so I had a little time to speak to the chaplain and the social worker, and because it was scary. I wasn't sure what David was capable of. He was associating with really not good people. So I needed to protect Sophie and Phoebe. And so I just left him off the birth certificate. So there weren't any. And at one other point, I would have added him on if he ever got his shit together. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And he actually died of COVID this February, which was bizarre information to process. And it was just really just a lot. So I feel that, with all that being said and speaking out loud about it, and I never thought of it this way, that is I must have had some kind of PTSD from all of that.
Oh yeah, complex PTSD. I wouldn't be surprised. It's right? A lot in a short amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just I think also then being in and Sophie was born in 2010, and she was just the perfect little baby. Thank God, because if she wasn't, I would be like, fuck you, God, what are you doing to me? But it was like one of the most vulnerable times of my life, because physically I was just like, I was overweight, I had a C-section, but I had this beautiful little baby, and we just bonded. Bonded, the two of us. I took 8 months off she was just a happy, great little baby. I took 8 months off before I went back to work. And, she's now 11, and she is a beautiful person. But our relationship has been horribly affected, um, because I recently sort of had this. She's very aware of it. She gets it, but she's also a kid and she fidgets. She's a fidgeter. Okay. And it
Yep.
is so annoying.
Was
It's
she always triggered? Did it start to trigger you recently, maybe because of the pandemic, or was it kind of always happening
so
after
she,
that
she was
baby
always like,
period?
kids are like always moving around, like spastic, like, kinder, like getting control of their body kind of thing. But I noticed, this whole fidget thing became like she collects literally hundreds of these fidgets, the poppers and I don't know, just ordering them on Amazon without my knowledge. But, and, um, which that's fine if that helps her, I think it was hard for her to focus sometimes, um, to do those assignments and all of that. And we did just find out that, she does have this. They consider it a disability of just attention, but it's not ADD. It's just like when there's a distraction, she can't sort of. It's like executive functioning. It's all so weird. I don't want to get into that. But anyway, her fidgeting. Like, so I would say, Sophie, so how was your day? Or we'd have to do in third grade, we'd have to do speeches, right? And she would wiggle around and, flip up and down and, put her leg around her neck. And I'm just like, can you stop? Stop it. It's so annoying. And I would mimic her and I'd be like, so yeah, and putting my leg up. And she would just giggle. I'm like, it's jerking all around, like, it's like, what? This is, be still. And she's flinging her mask around or she's popping on
Yeah.
something. And I'm just like, Sophie, no, no. So what she needs to help her triggers me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, she started to make some noises with her mouth. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, just don't do that ever again. And then she'll do it. And here's the thing. I've told her, I'm like, I am not at a point in my life where I'm well enough to be able to realize that I'm the parent and you're the child. And you're in some development fucking phase. Okay. You need to not do that because I might kill you. Really. So if you want to help me and you want to help you, please don't make that noise near me ever again. And then sometimes she'll just be like, I wish you didn't have misophonia, right? I do too. It's horrible. And it is so hard for someone to really understand this sort of involuntary reflex. It's like, when you go to the doctor and the doctor hits your knee, boink. Well,
Yep.
that's what it is. It's like, I can't help it. I literally, there's so many doors slammed and I will just run into and I will, like, if it keeps going, like, and I'll start sweating immediately. My heart will rate. I'll feel like I'm having a heart attack. My body gets hot and it takes hours to calm down. And I'll just go into my room and be alone and like meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes days on end, like just leave Sophie. I mean, alone type of thing. But, uh, so that's been really, really hard. And just recently in July, so there's these times of stability, like, so I think just it all sort of collided. It all sort of was catching up when I started to work from home. And I know now exactly when on Wednesdays, my leaf blower guys come, I put on white noise machines, right? And I don't know why I didn't start doing that till recently. It's right till I had my breakdown in July, around July 4th. My body just went into absolute, like, what did I call it when I emailed you? Like shock, sleep shock slumber syndrome. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I had an MRI done because when you're 51, you need to go to every doctor on the planet. They make you feel so great. But I had an MRI done and I didn't want to do the MRI. And I remember having an MRI when I was pregnant, but it was quiet. It was quiet. I don't remember the noise. I don't remember the sound. And when I went in and I'd rescheduled many times, I'm like, I just want to do it because, I'm little claustrophobic, right? But I went in finally and they never once mentioned over the phone this is going to be noisy. This is going to be loud. You're going to need to wear earphones, or you're going to need to wear little earplugs. So when I got there, they told me, I said, no, I don't want anything in my ears. I don't want anything. Like, is it really, really loud? Do I have to have, what they should have said was, yes, it's like the law. Like they should have had headphones with music. They shouldn't even have let me put the plugs in. I put the plugs in, and literally it was the loudest. And this is just loud. And
It's so
anybody,
loud. It's like it's a magnet.
unbelievably loud. And
Oh,
it put me into, no one should have to tolerate that. Why the fuck are these machines
yeah.
so
Go back
loud?
to the
And
drawing board.
yeah, shame on you. You should have a white noise, big, good headphones. And I literally, I mean, I need to sort of complain about it, because when I'm in there, I put the earplugs, and I made it through like the whole like sort of, and then they wanted to inject fluid into me. I'm like, no, I don't want any fluid. Okay. You know, what's the whole point of the MRI? You need to like highlight the area. No, I don't want any weird thing making me feel weird. That's enough. Okay. And then this, and so it was like, I can't even, it was just like, imagine a bulldozer or a jackhammer inside your ear, like in there, but worse, because it's metal. I said, and I tolerated it. It was a long bit because they're taking a few bits. And I was like, oh my, it was just that pain. Because it wasn't like annoying. It was just, I'm dead now. Like, you just shocked my body into death. And I said, wait a minute, stop. Yeah, can you give me the headphones, please? That's really loud. And I looked at the machine. I was like, oh, it's a GE. Why is it so loud? It does not need to be so loud. I left. I was the first patient that day to make it through the MRI.
Oh.
To me, that said, maybe you should do something about this.
Yeah, weird.
How about providing headphones as well as getting a new machine that isn't so loud? And I went for a hike because one of the major coping mechanisms for me is I have to get out in nature.
Yeah.
And with my daughter, and just connect with her. And so as much as I can, I will go up for a hike, Franklin Canyon, which is just beautiful and quiet. We went last night. We saw the sunset. It was trippy yesterday because I'd never seen LA like this, but it was like a layer of clouds above, like we were above this layer of clouds that looked like snow. And then underneath it, from the top of the was just smog trapped. And it was bizarre, but then it was like really clear. It was just so trippy. But, I go out and I try to walk every day. And that's a way for me to connect with Sophie one-on-one. And she talks about her day. But also, if I have to go around the corner, like to Kenneth Hahn State Recreation Park, or it's a more urban hike, Baldwin Hill Scenic Overlook. Okay, people, we have wildlife here. We don't want to hear your bang, bang music going. It's so annoying. Literally, people are listening to their music out loud, like not in their head, like in their ear pods or whatever, but like out loud. So that is so irritating. The way that I have handled that is one day I said, hey guys, so there's a ranger down at the bottom giving out tickets for anybody that has their music playing.
Genius again.
Right? And they're like, huh? Oh, okay. Because they're, some of the music that they're listening to is profanity. And I don't want Sophie listening to that. I don't need her to hear, bitch. I don't want to, like, hey, I'm doing a walk in this beautiful place. Why are you playing that music? Again, etiquette. So it's like you have to sort of, tolerate those things. But, I am totally cool with saying, hey, being open about it and not like suffering.
A lot of us, are used to bottling things up. So that's interesting.
So many people do. So many of the misophones do. So many people are just that you've interviewed are just sitting there, just cringing. And believe me, there's times when I have cringed, and I still cringe. And then there's, but you have to communicate it, like especially if the person, if you are a person that has misophonia and you are sitting there tolerating your parents eating with their mouths open, you shouldn't have to tolerate that. I mean, unless they have some kind of medical condition. Like, it should be okay to say, do you mind eating with your mouth shut? Like, that shouldn't be a thing. It's etiquette, right? I feel that. I mean, I don't know how you feel like that
Yeah,
is,
well,
but
you would think that if anyone was going to try to accommodate, it would be your own parents.
right,
um,
exactly. And so I remember as one of my coworkers, she's also a casting director. She's a good friend of mine. She also has misophonia. In fact, she's the one who sent me the article about, she's like, I think this is what it is, and
mm,
yes. And so I remember, and I was very vocal, with my whole sort of like Deal or No Deal team. They would mess with me. Oh my God. They knew I was so sensitive to sound, and they would like fuck with me. Because there'd be people like working when we were traveling, we'd be on like the studio lot, and they'd be like hammering, a set, and they go, what the fuck? Hammer? What's the fuck's sake? You know what I mean? Right? I was very vocal. And it's just part of my personal, God's way I sort of coped with it. And I remember one year, one of the gals gave bells, like bicycle bells, as a gift to put right. And one of them started to ding, ding ding, ding ding ding, because they knew.
oh
I'm like,
no.
who the fuck is dinging their bell? Who's dinging their bell? But when people do that, I have a great sense of humor about it. Like it's funny. Like if someone was just doing it like, ow, no, but they were just doing it to mess with me. So I was able to handle that. But
Yeah, that's good if you can, right, if you can divert it into the comedy part of the
yeah.
brain.
And if the guy that was doing the tree trimming at 7 a.m. on Christmas Eve, if I had known, if you tell me we're going to come and saw some trees, then I can prepare myself, because part
Yep.
of it is like, you are wrong. You're invading my space. You're a dick. I hate you. You're dead. Like,
Well,
like,
yeah, your
like,
brain is reacting to fear of some imminent threat. So, but if you're able to prepare yourself a
yeah,
little bit before, it's sometimes all it takes.
that's all it takes. So I can prepare, like, hey, we're going to trim the trees. And I remember they were going to do that at my house. And I had a Skype interview that day, because I do a lot of Skype interviews with, with talent. And the tree trimmers were there, and, it was loud, but I was able to, sort of prepare. Had they just showed up, right? So now I after this MRI, and then also it was July 4th, I went for a walk in Franklin, and I calmed down a bit. But I think that MRI shocked my body into shutting
Mhm.
down. And I shut down for 4 days. And I've done that a lot,
You've
where
That's happened before, like multiple
where I have
times
to
where.
sleep for like, I go, my mom and my daughter call it the vortex, where I go and I just shut off, because as a single mom also for 11 years, you can imagine
Mm-hmm.
how busy that is, on top of
Exhausting. Yeah.
just your daily household chores, to, a freaking maid, to working, and just everything in life, just and your tech sanity, your making a call to healthcare, whatever it is, I would just be exhausted. I mean, there's no one else to take out the trash. I'm a plumber, I fix things. I mean, I have
Mm-hmm.
to do it myself, right? And that's fine. But really, it's your sanity, and also not having that sort of that person to bounce off. I think it's just all sort of contributed. And then this noisy, dirty city, and then these unnecessary leaf blowers. I think I just get angry also, because I think about the unnecessary. They're illegal. These gas leaf blowers are illegal in California. You cannot be on my property 15 feet, and they're blowing it around, and all they're doing is
Mm-hmm.
blowing dirt and sickness into your house. And then not to mention noise pollution, but it's a health hazard. And for unnecessary, like, get a rake. And
Mm-hmm.
this one guy, he comes next door, and he freaking blows the leaf blower for 45 minutes. And it's one of those, right? And you're like, what the fuck? And one day I just went out and I said, excuse me, can you not blow your leaf blower like that? I mean, you're here for 45 minutes. What are you doing? There's no, he's like, well, what did the other guy do? I'm like, get a rake. Because what he's trying to do is blow one fucking leaf, okay, out to the front, one fucking leaf, when you can just get down right? And I'm just like, he scared the shit out of him, you know. And I was very nice, but I'm working. I'm doing an interview from home. Like I don't need to think. And I now instead of like getting irritated knowing he's coming, I put the white noise. I have 3 Alexa devices. By the way, I'm addicted to Alexa. There's Alexa Anonymous. She is the only reason why I can standing in my kitchen. My kitchen is the worst room in the house. My refrigerator is the most noisy. No, I'm not kidding. I have research, and I research. That's like part of my coping. Researching. You know how many times I've recorded my refrigerator? How many times? Like one day I'm going to use it. This is my fridge, you know. And I've looked up this fridge, and I'm telling you, it's really ridiculous because it has hissing, popping, sizzling, sputtering, spatting, humming, buzzing. These are all the regular noises coming from your fridge. There's nothing regular about those noises. I mean, this fridge scares the crap out of you.
Is it old?
No, it's like 2016. It's a Frigidaire side-by-side piece of shit. And literally it has normal operating sounds and sights. I'm looking at the thingy, and there's 12. There is nothing normal about a broiling or gurgling sound in your fridge. Okay.
Does it have an ice maker? Ice makers are just
but I think ice maker, and it pops, it scares the crap out of you. The ice maker gross, right? You know, it's like, holy crap, shit. Is someone in there? It scared the babysitter one night, you know. And then there's dripping and hissing or sizzling or in the defrosting and popping. The popping, that's great. And then wait a minute, we've got cubes falling, you know, randomly and clicking. Yeah. So this is the noisiest fridge on earth. I have researched it. Other people can't even stand in their kitchen. It's so loud. There is a level of normalcy when it comes to appliances. And nowadays appliances are made for shit. Okay. There's no quality. Right.
That's funny. I might ask for a recording of that, because part of my ideas for some of these songs that I'm writing is to use basically samples and use them as like snare.
Oh my god, yeah, totally.
Do them as a beat, basically.
No, we have to. That's why I can't wait to talk about this other stuff.
Yeah.
But like literally, it's like, and then so to my, and I've an open space, so my kitchen's open, and I'm always in the kitchen. Oh, I love it. There's always dishes, you know, it's just like Wonder Woman spinning around. Oh, cook, clean, put away, cook, clean. And then, you know, laundry. It's like, so now what I do is when I'm in the kitchen, there's been so many times I've had to turn off the fridge because it's ridiculous. And like my food is spoiled, you know, whatever. Like I have to set a timer like for 30 minutes or whatever. But, and Sophie can't stand it too. And here's what I do. It's so loud. Like, honestly, it's so loud. Like it makes some really weird noises that, you know, while some people like might not notice it right away, what I do is another one of my coping is I go, you hear this fridge? So they don't think I'm nuts. You hear it? No, it doesn't sound like anything else, but just really listen. Now I'm going to turn it off. And I want you to hear how quiet it is in the house. Right. So I do it and they're like, holy shit. And they cannot believe. And I said, so imagine that being not so much the sound. Someone, I think her name is Jennifer, mentioned it. It's the stress, the energy behind the sound. That imagine that being just 100 times worse in my ear. That's how it feels. It's like so freaking annoying, and I want to fucking bash the fridge in. And I have beaten it. I have like I slammed the door the other day, and like 2 of the shelves broke. But like I just. You know, I mean, gonna have to get a new. I mean, obviously get a new fridge, but like, you know, these appliances. Also, I've got fairly new washing machine. Okay, so washing machines do that sort of chugga 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 chugga, right? Right. This one's like like a rubbing, like what the fuck are you doing? What? It's so it is so annoying, and there's no door from my kitchen to the laundry room, so it's like, oh my god, it's just. I have to leave the washing machine going when I leave the house. I just can't. It's just too much.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that is so I play Alexa games when I'm in the kitchen because I focus.
Oh, to distract you. Yeah.
The trivia. Yeah. You know, so I've got all these games that I play. Plus it keeps my brain sharp, I think. I'm playing Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader, which is really hard. Right. But it does. My focus, I think with Misophonia is that we are so aware.
Yep.
In
Hyper
general,
aware.
people,
Exactly.
yeah, hyper aware. And I'll never forget going to there's this peace labyrinth right in mid city, and it's just this beautiful place, and there's a labyrinth there, and it's just this meditation garden, and it's just beautiful. And I'll remember going there, taking my mom there for her birthday one year, and I literally they're doing construction. You're in this nice peace labyrinth, and there's like jackhammers and construction going on next door. And as I'm talking to the person guiding us through, I'm like, so I'm really sensitive to sound, and he just said something so great. He goes, well, you're a very aware person, but rather than focus on the sounds around you, just focus in, like put a halo or something around the person you're looking at, and just focus on them. And that has worked, where I was actually talking to someone the other day, and there was so much noise going on, like alarms, car alarms, or just really big, major triggers. And I just focused in on what they were saying. It's hard, but it worked.
Mhm.
Sometimes we're just too aware. We're too aware. And so we've got bionic hearing.
Right.
I can hear the hum of light, like if the lights aren't down or up properly, and you like, I can't do that. I mean, there's so many sounds that trigger. Obviously, it started with the eating, and any kind of eating, slurping, chomping, chewing, crunching, but like, these other things that are invasive, not only like the city sounds, the noises, like cars or barking dogs or fireworks, which also put me into a tizzy, because we have these, fireworks going on, from May until after July 4th. And I don't mind those distant, fireworks. It's just the ones that just do that huge boom pop, like it shocks your system, and you just have a heart attack, and that can damage your hearing. I mean, Sophie probably better. I mean, from one exposure. And I, after the MRI, and then just sort of dropping for 4 days, realizing that you don't leave, when mom's sick, leave mom alone sick. When someone's sick, you take care of them. You bring them chicken soup, you make sure they have food. But when I'm sick, I'm left to suffer alone. What I needed, what I realized was it scared Sophie. I needed to have a plan set in place to have like an emergency plan. So if this happens to me where I, shut down, that she knows she's got a list of people to call, someone that can come and check in on me, someone that can make me some soup. I needed care. I needed to really go away for a month and go to a silent retreat. And I felt that's what I needed. And I realized after that happened that right away I went to my doctor. He didn't know anything about misophonia. I'd maybe heard a little bit. He gave me. I said it is affecting my relationship with my daughter. I have, and so he's like, I said I need another reference for therapist, and they just give you a phone number. He can refer me to any other doctor, but not a therapist. Here's the number to call, right? And then he gave me a referral to an ENT, which I know I need to see an audiologist, and I haven't yet. And I know you've interviewed. Who is that lovely audiologist?
Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, started the conventions. I just loved her episodes so much. She's
amazing.
Such a darling human being. And there's an amazing doctor in England who I just love too.
Dr. Jane Gregory.
Yes, just love her. And it just seems like that this affects so many, people in Europe. Like, I don't know if it was like and women.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're more likely to come and kind of talk about it. I think.
But doesn't Dr. Gregory have like a test that you can take to see what level?
Yeah, she's developing.
Is there any way to get access to that? Because I wanted to
I'll connect you guys. Yeah, no, I'll connect you, both of you.
Oh my God, that would be great. Because I would love to just. I know I'm definitely on the extreme level. I'm sure, but I realized that I needed help, and like it's unbearable. And I mean, I have listened to I cannot believe, I mean, the young kids and the teens that are living with this. Oh
Right.
my gosh, there was one episode. Oh, just heartbreaking. I'm so glad he's such a lovely young man, and I'm just so glad that he found you, because I think you were going to connect him with someone. He wants to help. He wants to help people.
Matt. Yeah, I know exactly who you're
Yes.
talking about.
And he
Yeah.
was just so filled with joy. He's like, really? I mean, just what a lovely,
Yeah.
lovely guy. And I mean, I don't mean to mention everyone, but it's just like, I just connect with it. I mean, there's really extreme, there's people that have it extreme to the point of suicide, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then other people where it's just like, okay, it's not so bad. But, you know, I, I was going to tell you a real quick story about my friend. He's a casting director. Anyway, she had her headphones on, and, because she was sharing an office, and one of our associates, I love him so much, that was eating the noisiest food and the smelliest food, hard-boiled egg and celery. And I said, get the fuck here, because Rita was like cringing. I'm like, get out right now. Go and eat that outside. You're eating the noisiest food and the stinkiest. What's wrong with you? Because I have no problem, but I mean, they were like family at that point. Now you have to be, now I worry, because, you have to be, while I'm dying to just sort of get out. I also wonder, it has to be the sort of the right environment. And there have to be, ways in which, because there's certain things in the office that can really, I mean, I remember sharing an office with someone that sniffed. Oh my God. No.
And not just when they were not feeling well.
No, just
Yeah.
sniff.
Yeah. Yep.
Sniffer. And and I'm just like, And I've got headphones on. We're doing and I shared with another casting director that's on a different project. And I, even with my headphones watching the videos, I'm trying to do time code. I'm just hear her doing her every moment. And I'm like, hey, Susie, how you doing? Got some allergies going? Shut the fuck up before I smash your head on the table. Go away. No one wants to hear it. Nobody, not even any normal person, wants to hear that sound. But if you're with us, we're going to kill you, or leave, or just die, or live in torture, torture or tolerate. I had to tolerate it. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, I said to my I was like, does that not bother you? Does that not bother you? He didn't give a shit, oblivious.
Yeah. Were you able to kind of intercept your brain in time and just say that, hey, this job will be over soon, or
yeah, I mean,
the day, kind of muscle through it?
The day was almost over, and I think she got the point, because she took her allergy medicine, and
she got the point when your hands were around her.
Yeah, you want to take that little vitamin there, okay? I mean, I also just on a plane, there've been times where my mom is, all I have to say, my mom is a very quiet eater. She knows how much, it bothers me, but we recently went on a trip, and it was horrible recently. And I was like, I needed to get away. I hadn't been away from LA. You have to get away. So there's all these stressors, right? That are come into place. And if you have all these stressors, then your disorder, your misophonia is just going to be worse. It's going to be so extreme, And I was like, oh God, driving 5 hours in the car, can I handle it? And it's just terrible, because I really, we fought the whole way up there, which was awful. And finally, because it was really the only thing, I'm like, this is a thing, I need help, And we had to switch our room, because we'd go up to Monterey, and we're at this hotel, and they put us in a room overlooking a freeway. I don't want to overlook a freeway. I know, just get us somewhere. To move the room.
17 or 101 or
it was the
I used to live in San Francisco.
So we were. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Monterey, but anyway, it was noisy, and it was cars. I'm like, I didn't need to hear horns and cars, and I hear that every day. So they moved us, and then of course we go to a room, and the fridge is buzzing in the room. It's just you can't win. And really, there is when we were visiting a friend as well, is when he saw the stress. He's like, my gosh, the Mary Rachel I met me years and years ago, like 19 98, whatever, was so fun and upbeat and lovely. And now you're just stressed. I said, he goes, and what is misophonia? Like, he really asked it. I'm like, it's just so hard to explain. I don't really want to fucking do it right now. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and then my mom was eating, she was eating a wrapper. I was like, Mom, can you stop? And she just crunched it in my face on purpose. I was like, you fucking bitch. It was horrible. Horrible. And I felt horrible. She felt horrible. And I felt sad. And she felt sad. And we finally I had to sleep for a day while I was up there because I was just exhausted, needed to rest. And I was just so upset. And then on the way back, we had a great time on the way back. But I have not seen her since. And I know that it affects, our relationship. Sophie, I just want to encourage her, my brother, to understand that this is real, that I am not crazy, that it's no one's fault, because that's the worst thing is, and I think, the lady I was listening to yesterday that you were interviewing, and I don't know if she was in the very beginning or recently, but, I think her name was Jennifer. She was talking about how there's this theme of crazy in her life, where everyone thinks, she's crazy. And I've gotten that too. Like, oh, Mary's crazy. She's crazy. Because I'm crazy, but in a good way. Like, I'm not like, I'm energetic. I'm enthusiastic. I love what I do. I'm passionate. I feel things. Maybe I'm dramatic once in a while. That might help though at times. But I'm a kind, loving, really sort of quiet, very, really not to myself person. And I could never couldn't stand, when my mom said you're mentally ill, and just what my daughter was like, you're not mentally ill. Like, it's so confusing for her. And there's nothing wrong with mental illness. We need to bring awareness to it. And there's help out there. And my mom's one of those people that's so scared of it. And it's come up, they were addressing it in the Olympics, when our beautiful gymnast was like, I can't.
Simone Biles,
Yes, she couldn't do it. They were talking about, so many things. And I was just like, so important, because I think that these issues, and listen, we misophones, we have it so easy. I looked up some I just was like, what, this is what helps me. What are some disorders we've never heard of? At least we don't have alien hand syndrome, or, you know what I mean? Or like, Alice in Wonderland syndrome, or like cannibalism, where you want to eat your body, God.
Eat your own body?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Some trippy stuff. And then there's one where it's actually a cool disorder to have. It's like really cool. And I think Lady Gaga has it. It's like when you hear a sound, you see a color, or
that's something. That's something I've heard some musicians talk about. In fact, there was a John, one of the Johns I've interviewed. I think it's synesthesia or something like that. Anyways,
you got it right. Synesthesia. Yeah, I was like, so the way that it sort of helped me to not feel crazy is to be like, well, thank God I don't have this, or like foreign language thing where you it's terrible. Where you wake up, you speak, English your whole life, but you wake up, with a Chinese accent or something, and it can't stop, and you don't know who you are. There's some really bad things out there. When this gets bad, the misophonia, it's really bad, and I've experienced it, and I am just so glad that I went to my doctor and all that. I still have to see the ENT. I need to see an audiologist. I need to get back into therapy, but meditation always helps. Eating, sleeping.
In the absence of all those, of all that extra help, anything you can do to lower stress should be job number one.
Self-care.
Worry about the details, the other professional stuff later.
Yeah, and it's just the basics. Getting out into quiet and taking care of just regular sleep. I think if I don't have a good, and here's the other thing, I'm a night owl, right? So
same.
I love the night because it's quiet.
Same. I love the early morning too. It's kind of weird. I like to stay late.
Me too. So then I get like 3 hours of sleep.
Yep.
which is bad because then I'm more
Yeah.
more
Stress
irritable.
and yeah. Well, this is all until Dr. Kumar finally gets to that cure. I don't know what's taking him so long, but if Dr. Kumar, if you're listening, stop stringing us along on your research journey. Get to that cure.
Yes, if there is, I mean, I think that there might be, yeah, an instant cure. Just
If
awesome.
anyone didn't catch that, I was just kind of kidding. So
No,
I
I love it.
was
I love
saying
it. No, I love it. But like, there's something that he does, was mentioning, where it's neuro. It's like a electric. What is it? Like sending transmitters to the brain. Am I thinking of it right? Like,
Well, I think his latest. I don't know if he released something this morning. You said something new
yeah.
came
Let
out,
me
but
see if I
the
can.
most recent thing was from earlier in the year, and that had to do with the whole motor cortex thing, where
Yes. That's what
if you're
he.
looking at something, it triggers your mirror neurons
Right.
when they're not supposed to, and then that imbalance kind of like freaks your brain out.
I have to tell a quick story, like, because I know we've been going a while, but so coping mechanisms, I've told you a few of them, but one is, yes, is to record the devices, or really like point it out, or, yell at people, get white noise, avoid the situation, stab someone, whatever it is, the regular
Yeah,
things we
right.
do, suffer, is, okay, so supermarkets are really horrible. And there's always kinds of beeps and machines and some music, and so or someone with their phone. And so one of my pet peeves is, like, I just can't stand people either staring at their phone or talking on the phone in anywhere private, whether it be a bank or a supermarket or whatever, with a friend on speaker. Okay,
Oh God, yeah.
why are you doing that? The etiquette. Again, that is manners. And whoever runs the business or the supermarket should say, no cell phone talking allowed, right? Like, no, we're confiscating them. I want to do a hidden camera show where literally, you're at, someone are having lunch. They're like, yes, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to take all of your cell phones. You've all totally just broken the law for the cell phone attention, some kind of thing. Just take their freaking, oh my God. But and so I'll never forget. And they do it all the time. I'm like, oh my God. And I look at them with disgust, like, you are disgusting, vile. And you're rude too. Like, I get so angry because it's like the leaf blowers, they're poisoning us. It's unnecessary, they're illegal. And so I get that extra added anger. I don't know what that is, it's the noise, but it's like all the other stuff, the climate change, whatever. People that throw trash out of their freaking cars and want to race them and kill them. Right. I can't stand it. It's like disgusting. So so if they're on their phone, like, oh, I'll just like move away from those people. Right. But there was one time where a lady's on her phone, and I just don't ever talk on my cell phone, like, ever, if I can
Yeah.
avoid it, in front of anyone. I just don't like it. I don't like being on the cell phone. I'm the lady with the landline. Like, I mean, I have a cell phone, but like, yeah, call me on the landline. Like, a landline. And she was having a business conversation, like a very important business conversation, on the speaker, and which is annoying in itself. And then we were in the chip section, and she literally picked up every single bag of chips, potato chips, from every single row and felt them up. I was like, oh my fucking God. I can't believe this woman. And instead of like going away or saying something, because she was on a phone call, I want to be rude, the only way that I could handle it was by recording it. Just the audio. Going, you believe this?
Right? Yeah, that must be because mimicking is kind of a coping mechanism. Maybe somehow recording it kind of taps into that the control. You feel like maybe you're controlling the situation.
That's
if you're
exactly
recording
what it is.
it from afar.
It's exactly what it is. And there's so many things out of our control. And I know that a lot of your guests have talked about control and, control freak or whatever. when I was little, there were certain things I couldn't control that were they were out of my hands, like as far as my parents getting divorced and moving and all that. So what I could control was being a good student, not having any sort of drama. I mean, I don't even think I was always so strong. I don't even think I showed my emotions to my parents. I never cried, I was like the perfect student. All of that because, I could control it. And so the thing that's really hard now is that I live with a child and I can't seem to have anything in order the way that I want it to be. Like it's not in order. It's like I just need to have some order. And Sophie is just sort of, she will organize things, when she wants to, but like I can't tell you how many times I'll find things under the chair and on countless times of like, why is this under the chair? Like, why are you doing that and shoving things in? I don't know if it's a kid thing, but it really feeds into, if I could just have my home in order, then that's one thing. So I've had to learn to really, okay, I cannot produce the way I used to be able to produce before I had Sophie. I have a child. She is my responsibility, and that takes a lot of time. That's my number one job. And I hate it. I hate it right now because I don't like it, because I don't like listening to my own voice. I don't like having to be the person that says, do this, do that. It's so horrible. Like you become this. And then when she doesn't listen, then it's like, oh my God, why aren't you listening? And then I feel like it's respect. And it's just like this vicious cycle. And I just don't like the person that I am. It's really hard. And it's really hard for her. I'm like, so things are they're a bit fiery, right now where I think, the more help that I get, and then just getting back into therapy, and then trying, the tapping or the healing, or just maybe I need to move out of LA, because it's this city is, I think it's taken probably some years off my life. I'll only live to be 140 now. I mean,
well, you're only 30, so that's a lot.
I know, I'm only 30. That's right. Oh my God, my 30th birthday was the best.
And you'll be there again, I'm sure.
I'll be there again.
You'll
50. I turned 50 during the pandemic. I was like, this blows. But it turned out to be an actual beautiful end of the day, because so you mentioned meeting, I am everyone's friend. I love people and I hate them at the same time. Other people ruin everything is my motto, right? It's like we are at a beach, like, why does he have to sit next to me with his stereo? I mean, this is this whole like, go away.
Isn't that great? It's like that Harold and Kumar episode where he's going to pee in the forest at night, and then somebody pees right next to him.
Yeah, what is that about? Like,
or somebody parking right next to you.
What is that? Like, what is that?
I don't know. It doesn't have anything to do with misophonia, I don't think, but it's something us being so aware, we know.
Or them not being aware at all and sitting in our space.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, go away. You have a whole beach, you perv. Like, go somewhere else. It's like, whatever. It's,
So tangent, but I don't know if it's like this in LA, but in Minnesota here, I don't know what it is, but people love to sit in their cars. So you go into a parking lot and you're like, I think it's going to be quiet. And there's somebody right next to you sitting in their car.
The car
staring at their phone, or sometimes the car running, sometimes not. So sometimes it's even creepier because they're just kind of sitting there,
Yeah,
reading,
they're on their phone.
Not even on their phone, they're reading a book, which is great, but it's even weirder. Like, why aren't you just at a bench or sitting on the grass? Anyways,
it's interesting, why people, I do look at that, but also I almost had like a full-on anxiety attack the other day when we walked. So my car was in the shop for a few days, so I had to organize like Sophie getting to school and everything. Anyway, all it was the key. It just needed a new key. Can you believe that? That's good though. But I remember walking up to the Vons, and so this Vons is on the corner of. Have you ever been to LA?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you have. So you're familiar.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to Minnesota. I've been to St. Paul.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, we had a casting call there.
Ooh, for what kind of
for a deal, and it was in freezing cold. It was like -5 degrees, and only Minnesotans can come out with their fishing gear, their ice fishing. They were amazing. And we had it at the Toyota dealer. Can't remember the street, but and people were lined up, in the ice, but it was such a beautiful I mean, beautiful city. I had a friend from high school that I was able to visit. It was just it was just really
It's
beautiful.
nice. And the thing is, it's kind of like on the DL because Minneapolis is next to it, which is not a huge city in itself, but it's like, it's kind of decent looking downtown area, but it's like nobody's really there. So it's kind of,
No one's really
nice.
there, but there was like a good, like, I had fun there. I had a really good time. But it was just the people were great, and the local affiliate, the local NBC affiliate was great, and I really enjoyed visiting and everything. But anyway, I went into this store, and so Vons has this thing where when they make an announcement, when they make announcements, like some are like, no, Benjamin, meet you in the bathroom. Like, you're like, what did he just say? Like they're mumbling.
There's a bomb, nuclear.
Yeah. The other words, it's a huge beep, like.
Oh yeah.
You're like, oh my God. Okay, first of all, that's too loud. The decibels are too high. That is putting the hairs on the inner part of my ear up, and everyone else's. It is too invasive, like as far as the loudness. But then it keeps on doing it. I'm just like, what the, and then they have on there, they put this new thing in where they have the self-checkout, right?
Yeah.
And I never do self-checkout. I couldn't even focus because I think I was like, how to return or whatever. I don't know. But the self-checkout machines are dinging and speaking 9 different languages, and the TVs are on. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to try to focus. I'm trying to focus. This is going to end soon. And listening to your and people saying this is going to end soon. I was trying not to lose my shit. And Sophie knew it. I was like, because I was right next to all of these sounds that were just like, it's like being in Vegas in a casino. Hey, casinos, ding, 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 hoo-yah. It's like, wheel up, fortunately, get it out of here. It's like, and I just breathed, and I told myself, okay, we're almost through. But it was very hard, it was hard. I was trying to focus on it. Sophie, tell me a story. Tell me something else, because I was feeling racy. Like as I'm talking about it, I'm sweating. I mean, guaranteed I'm sweating all the time. So attractive. I mean, I feel hot.
Yeah.
And like I can't breathe. And I've never been a person to have that much anxiety. And so it is time to, yes, Dr. Kumar. Are you listening?
Get off your butt and get some work done. Jeez,
come on, seriously, lazy.
With these book reports on your research.
No, I appreciate all the work that these doctors are doing, and I'm I feel very blessed and grateful that actually that
is funding
the,
now that's going around the world.
It is, but I feel sad for the people that have suffered, who's maybe lost their lives or are living in solitude or are in jail.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know all the miso crimes or crimes.
Miso crimes. Oh my God. Sorry, I didn't mean to slap. Sorry. But
there's crimes of passion and crimes of misophonia.
Oh my God, miso crimes. That's the best. Miso crime. I've got God, that's funny. Miso crimes or miso like attacks. I don't know. Who knows? But there needs to be like some,
when misophones attack on like Animal Planet or National Geographic.
Yeah. Miso crimes. And I wonder if there's any animals that are. Here's the thing: as human beings, we're born with our 5 senses, right? And some people are sensitive to smell, some are more sensitive to sound, some to touch, and without the other disorders like OCD or autism, just in general, like sensitive to smell, and it's just they're sensitive to smell, and you can't wear perfume around them, like a lot of people, and sight, their vision is more, their eyes are more sensitive. So I think there's a level of we have to forgive ourselves and say, okay, these sounds aren't cool for anybody. It's just that our involuntary reaction to wanting to murder somebody is this, where it's not healthy. It's like either you want to like kill someone, you feel like you're going to, and we don't. Normally we don't act out. There was an instance.
Normally we don't act out, right?
Yeah, where a person. Normally we don't, but I might if I don't get treatment.
Right.
It's where a person was like, it affects your relationships, your intimate relationships, right? Like, but they were so angry, it was affecting them at work and everything. And the guy, like took a pen and like took the pen that the person was clicking or whatever it was doing, and like stabbed them with the pen. I heard that story, and I think that we need to sort of get people the help that they need, because there are people that do, I'm sure, do act. I mean, I act out when I hit the refrigerator or when I almost broke the faucet the other day because it has a drip.
Yep. I've talked to people who've injured themselves punching walls and
yeah, I have that. I know I've done that. I have pinched. I think, was it Martha that was saying, pinched my leg so hard. She was talking about like so she wouldn't, if someone's chewing gum, you're like, fucking Cleo, and you're like pinching your leg, you're like, oh my god. So you don't, you're just that
to distract you. Yeah, I mean,
like, or you're wanting to like put all that anger into your leg because that's what you want to do to them. You're like,
right,
my leg so hard, this is your neck and my freaking hand.
A twisted form of mimicking.
It's so twisted. I love how you reinstate it. It makes me feel so normal. Just so normal. So it's just a typical day for the Misophonia,
Right.
But anyway, I know I have rambled. I could ramble more and more. And
okay, I think maybe let's start to wind this one down.
Yes. That's wind down. I'm sorry, so energetic and enthusiastic.
But is there anything? Yeah, I mean, we've covered a lot of ground. I feel like there's obviously a lot more we could talk about. But anything else you want to tell people now for who's listening about anything?
Well, thank you for listening, whoever is listening, and I do really feel I really would love to put together some kind of support group, whether it be over Zoom or if there's people in LA or in person. But I am working on some projects. Can I mention that? I think I mentioned before, but that I'm working on some projects there. I don't want to say too much about them, but I can say more when if or when anyone's interested and we speak. That people that are suffering or struggling with this, I would love to talk to, so they can. The best way is because I when I'm doing development stuff, I don't like to say too much about it. There's so much competition with so many other places. So I think that just the best way to get a hold of me would be to my email, which I'm sure you'll probably put in the show.
Yep.
But I'm on LinkedIn, Mary Rachel Foote. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Insta, Facebook. My company's a Foot Away Entertainment, but my email is a Foot Away, like AFOOTAWAY, like your future, a foot away. The number 1 at gmail.com. And I just want to reiterate how grateful I am to first of all, to you, Adil, for starting this podcast. It has been such a help to myself and to even my daughter. She was listening. She's like, I really like, it's very calming. Again, I'm not a very calm person. No, I am actually, but like, I get very, like, I have to express it. Like, I'm very sort of overly, expressive about it. And you've helped so many people. And I just want to say thank you to all of the professionals that have been on your show, as well as to all of the guests that suffer from it and sharing their stories. It has been my lifeline these past couple of months. So thank you.
No, we appreciate that. That's why I think people come on, because they want to get their stories out, and they know it's going to help people, and like yours is going to as well. I mean, you've been through a lot, and you're not alone on many levels for
a lot of the stuff you're going through, not just misophonia. So thank you for coming on. This is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Rachel. That was just so much fun, as you can probably tell. If you liked this episode, don't forget to leave a quick review or just hit the 5 stars wherever you listen to this podcast. Music, as always, is by Moby. And until next week, wishing you peace and quiet.